Easy E, how are we?
Shawnee!
No, before we go any further, I cut you off last week, but I have to make it all about you this week because the birthday boy is coming on his actual birthday to do a podcast and share his presents with the rest of us right now. So first off the bat, happy birthday, sir.
Thanks very much. I was about to say you better wish me a happy birthday or there's going to be trouble.
That was the very first thing I did. You're the very first person I know, though. And I'm sure there's others, but you're the first person I know where I saw you last year and you're 30, and I'm like, whoa, he's like me now. The hairline's gone all the way back, and a year later, full head of hair. What's this Benjamin Button over here?
Benjamin Button, I look about 25. I'm telling you, it's the best birthday ever. I'm after seeing a photograph of myself doing the half marathon this morning. I look like a 15-year-old. It's absolutely brilliant.
Aging like fine wine. I'm like a bottle of milk over here. More ways than one.
But yeah, no, it's good. Like, I kind of had a little chat with myself last night. It was like, holy shit, I'm turning 31 and I'm trying to take on an Ironman and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. I was like, oh my God, it does not get easier. No. Nor am I getting faster.
Well, I suppose we'll get straight into it, I suppose, because you're 31. Birthdays aren't a big deal. You had your big trio birthday bash last year. You have nothing now to your 40, which unfortunately is coming up not too far in the distance from me. And I'm getting depressed thinking about that, so we're going straight into the intro music of this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. Let's go. So you said there you had the picture, the full head of hair for the half marathon. You just did the Dublin Half Marathon. The last stop for a lot of people, I know some people are doing a 3/4 distance in a couple of weeks' time leading up to the full. But for a lot of people, I think it was near 8,000. Oh, I heard there was going to be near 8,000. If 8,000 turn up, I don't know. For this race, it is the last major last major stop,
series.
I suppose. Series, last in the series towards the Dublin Marathon. How was it?
Really good. No, there was a hell of a lot of people there. Absolutely, yeah. I'd say it was at least a 6,000-7,000 anyway, or above that anyway. It was a massive turnout. Tough to park and walk your 5K to the start line as well. So, like, the race, it's really a 30K. It's but it was a tough week. Started to feel a little bit under the weather Wednesday, Thursday, so I took it a little bit handier, and then last night went for a 450-meter swim just to do something. And by
last night, you mean the Friday night, because we're recording this on the Saturday before doing the run. Night, just for context of people listening in on like the day before a half marathon is normally rest time, but no, you go out and do a 450-meter swim.
Yeah, now look, in terms of scale, that wasn't a hell of a lot for me, but it was just something I just had to try and shake it. So I didn't train on Thursday, but made the deal with myself that, look, if we can just relax, try and just stay functioning into the weekend, because I can't miss a really big weekend of training with the half marathon. So, and then I was aware it was my birthday as well. I was like, I don't want to feel shit for my birthday. So, but I struggled to get out of beds in the mornings, but we got good sessions in this week. And a lot of what I'm doing, I downloaded an app called Rouvy, Seán.
What's it called?
Rouvy, Rouvy. Maybe there's no E in there. Yeah, Rouvy. But basically, it's like Zwift. It's virtual cycling, but it has the Ironman route in Portugal.
Oh, wow. So is it a paid app or is it?
It is, but the first 2 weeks are free, so I'm flat out for the 2 weeks. So, no, I don't think it's that expensive. I think it's like €12. So I think I'll keep it up until I do the event and then get rid of it. But the mind numbing of it during the week was I would start a cycle, and it's like I'm looking at, the blue dot on Google Maps.
Yeah.
It's like I'm watching myself on Google Maps cycle around Portugal. And I'm just on the bike for hours watching the little blue dot, and then I'm like, oh, I'll take a sharp right turn. Oh, here's the hills. And then it gets really hard. So I kept doing the hill section just to kind of put miles into the legs for the hills. And then because it was my birthday, I was like, what better way to celebrate than to do an hour and 15-minute cycle and then go do the half marathon.
Sounds like the worst game of Pac-Man ever. Just a little dot going across, just chasing a line.
It is mind-numbing, and I'm only hoping, because I'm putting in numbers speeds. I'm getting to places at certain times, but obviously that's not factoring in. Could be windy on the day, or hopefully, I really hope I'm just faster in real life than I am on the turbo.
Somehow more aerodynamic. But do you think it'll
Uh,
help you out with? I suppose not a question you really can answer until after the Ironman. But you reckon it's helping you out with getting a bit familiar with the course, or like you're looking at a blue dot, you have no hope?
100%. So what I've discovered over the last little time, I know my limits in terms of watts over the hills.
Right.
So I know that I need to keep it less than 300 watts through the hill portion. When I'm heading downhill, I know what speeds I need to be hitting on a downhill to counteract the other uphill. And then I know I should be coming past you guys at our hotel at around between an hour and 5 minutes and an hour and 10 minutes. And if I'm quicker than that, you'd be like, whoa. If I'm slower than that, you'd be like, whoa.
Ooh.
So it's and then so it's and then there's straights where I know I can just be in my aero position for nearly an hour and a half and just maintain the speed, try and maintain that 31, 32 kilometers an hour. And that's what we're trying to do. So mentally, I'm learning a lot about what to expect rather than just going full tilt on the day. And then the perks of it is on the day I actually get scenery because the majority of this cycle is coastal and beautiful cliffs and stuff. So and part of it's onto the Estoril F1 track as well. So
Oh
actually
wow.
cycling the F1 track would be pretty cool as opposed to seeing my little blue thing going around an F1 circuit. But it's it's been really good for prep and that's what I did this morning. I said I won't do the hill part. I'm going to do the flat part of the Portugal from one section up to the transition point because mentally that's what's going to happen to body before I go for a marathon. So so that's what we did.
Were you going at what you perceive your Ironman distance might be for this? Were you pulling back a bit? Like were you just pushing the legs a little bit before your half marathon later on? Just
no, I stuck to the watts. I stuck to
you
the
stuck to the
180
watts.
watts. Yeah. So I was averaging about 30. I think the final on the I'll have to look back at my Zwift, but or sorry, my Strava. I think I averaged about 31 kilometers an hour. So very much target pace for the 6 hour
Nice.
cycle. Like it wasn't but it was a hell of a lot easier than doing it coming off the hills because I was starting just on flats and doing a couple of hills. There is a couple of little spikes in it, but it was mentally for me, it was like, right, I've just cycled into the transition point. Now I'm getting in my car to go to the Phoenix Park.
You
And
must have been fairly early though. So you up like 6 o'clock in the morning, get a bit of food in beforehand afterwards. What way did you do it?
up at 5:15, yeah. So I started cycling just after 5:30 to be ready to leave the house then. So I stopped cycling, I think it was about 5:05 or something like that. So it was an hour and there's always a technical problem. I couldn't find my heart rate monitor for the turbo trainer, so I had to do some funky business with the Garmin computer on the bike. So I lost out on probably 10-15 minutes of good cycling. I wanted to do an hour and a half, but it ended up being an hour and 15. But look, it was still a session. So it was kind of, it was kind of nice. It was kind of nice getting to the start line and looking at everyone doing their stretches and getting real excited. And I'm like, yeah, I've been up since 5:30, you fucks.
There is that thing with early morning training where you do not get that extra little, like when you guys slept. I was hard at it, you do get that extra little boost out of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it was nice. It was nice knowing that when someone else was blowing out their hole beside me, I was like, is this all you've got?
Yeah. So how was your approach to the half marathon? It's probably a lot different. A lot of people there because people are testing paces for the full and seeing where they're at, and maybe a bit of nutrition and trying to get themselves in with the surroundings of crowds and all the rest, and how they're going to feel on the day, and testing out their gear for that and all kind of stuff. Whereas you're in a slightly different ballpark than the majority, I would say, of people that did that half marathon.
Yeah, so for me, like Katie, who was with me, she was doing her first half marathon. So for me, I started at the back, which ended up being a bit of a pain in the arse in the end. But I started in amongst the 210 balloon.
Right.
Because for the first 2K, I just wanted to, we do all this training individually. It'd be nice for even a portion of the race to do a little run and that start just to kind of calm her nerves and definitely mine as well, you know. But
Mm.
it was nice. And then as we got through the 2K mark, I just the old fist bump and I said, right, sure, I'll see you in 2 hours, and off we
Off you
went.
went.
So,
Yeah.
but then I tried to maintain that 5:30, 5:20, which is a good. So the way I thought of it was, this isn't a full marathon. I'm only running half the distance, so let's get a good workout in,
Hmm.
and let's push the body so that it remembers you can actually go faster. So this should be manageable.
Mm.
So after that, I tried to maintain a 5:15, but once you came off the roads, you were running on the side paths in the Phoenix Park, and there was a lot of people. So I spent most of my time running on grass and slowing down and speeding up and slowing down and overtaking and dodging trees. So it felt like
Mm.
the national cross country championships with the odd tree branch into my head.
There's a lot of twists and turns and coming back in yourself. It seemed to be in the marathon. I
Yeah,
done it a couple of years ago, but I think I did a slightly different route, because I know when I did it, you went out of the park at some stage near the Ordnance Survey and came back in. Whereas this one, I think you stayed in the park the whole way through.
yeah.
We seem to come back in the loop a fair bit.
Yeah, so they did. They tried to, I suppose, keep minimum traffic disruption. I suppose is
Mm.
probably the best way to put it, which is fair. Look, I get it. It's just it probably wouldn't have been as bad if I was running. If I started in wave one with people of similar ability, you'd probably just be cruising along these paths, you know. So it's my own cross to bear, and that's fine. I kind of had liked a little bit of adversity training of jumping in and out and dodging trees and doing whatever, like carbon in the shoes, but I'm running on the grass. Like, so it was
Oh
just a
God,
run.
yeah. There's less of
Yeah.
a feedback off that extra bounce off the
Yeah.
carbon. So yeah, it wouldn't be
And
as good in the grass. Never thought
I
about that.
have to say, there was a huge difference. You'd
Yeah.
know straight away, just even the impact when you just, your legs just feel less heavy when you're back on the road. It's like, oh, thank God I'm back on the road, or I can get a little bit of this 100 meters running behind someone and then jump out again. So
Right.
yeah, no, it went really well, and it was, yeah, like the turnout, the weather as well. So the temperatures increased, the sun came out. A lot of people were
Blessed.
like, "Oh, I'm so glad of the shade," and I was like, "Burn me! It needs to be 18 degrees."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was really really well run. The old Lucas Aid was poured into cups again, so didn't even bother with that one. And then the Ishka bottles are brilliant. They are
Oh, the
absolutely
small little
brilliant. So
250 ml bottles, is it?
yeah, so I
Right.
got one early, and I just sipped away. Like a lot of people just taking two sips and throwing it away. I'm like, oh, come on, just drink the thing. It's 250 mils. Sip, sip, sip.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. I sipped my whole bottle till it was empty over the next 2K. And then as we were coming around, I don't know, it was prior to 10 mile maybe. Um, a lady grabbed off the last table her bottle, and she looked away for a second, ended up dropping her bottle. She was like, "Oh
Oh.
no!" She didn't know which one was hers, so I just picked
Ah.
up my bottle, looked at my bottle, looked at her. I was like, "Oh, here,
No more sip
have
sip
it."
for you.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, thanks so much." I was like, "It's all right. If I die, it's your fault." But
And she never saw you again.
no, because I put the boot down. No, but it was but again, like in terms of, I didn't eat any jellies. I didn't feel the need to fuel, which is really really good.
Hmm.
So I had a little bit of fuel. I had a banana and a breakfast bar with a little bit of caffeine on the way to the race,
Oh yeah,
and
between the race and the cycling and
yeah,
the race, yeah.
which is really really good for me. That energy systems are working as I want them to be. I didn't need much water. I was well hydrated from the bike that was still 2 hours ago at this stage, or
Hmm.
3 hours ago at this stage. So all in all, I think I'm working towards it so that when I get to that fueling stage in the bike and I'm taking on the carbs every hour, 90 carbs, and really looking after myself, I know that I have a half marathon of a little bit of energy. Now, obviously, 5 hours more cycling than a swim involved, but I will be fueling a hell of a lot more. So, hoping to balance all of that out. So, yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. And then it's just that atmosphere. It's just running with people. It was just great to be back running alongside a crowd. And that was my first run really since Cork with a
Yeah.
group. So, yeah, it was absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant, fantastic. So it pretty much set you up as you've built this one up for a while in your head a bit about setting yourself up good for the Ironman. It's your last race before going for the Ironman. To tick off the box you wanted to do now. Do you have any worries with the run, or did it end up being, this is just a training session that I've been here before? Did it carry much weight? The race
No.
before and after? No.
It was the first time, probably in a long time, I've showed up to one and just said, yeah.
Right.
Like, what made it for me was seeing people in the corral getting their stretches, and the amount of people running with earphones as well. I have to admit, I don't get it. It's a race day. You're surrounded by people. I do get it, but I don't get it.
It's easier now these days, the AirPods and all the rest too. Just stick them in away you go. Whereas these things I wear now, the cables and stuff, and trying to phone. Whereas people have the music down the watch, and they don't need to carry anything that the things in. But I'm with you on that one. I talked before, because I know music is cheating. I talked before when I did the pull-ups that I had the Rocky on and the AC/DC on for the last 2 hours to help me get that build. But I was in the room pretty much like training myself. There's other people in the room, but they're not going to give me that energy over 8 hours that I need. Whereas when you're in a crowd and you're running, the atmosphere is there. That has to carry it more than the training session ever will.
Yeah, like part of me was like, you do you, look, whatever you need to get through. But part of me was like, oh, you're missing out on that mental experience of it. You're missing out on hearing people breathing heavy, someone making a joke, like parts of the whole thing you're missing. But look, do what you have to do to get through it. Absolutely. But it was just something I'd see people. It was like, oh, that's a pity. Can't chat to you. Like it's,
well, I did this time last year. I talked about this in the podcast, but people on this episode. When I did the Galway Marathon, and because it's a lot quieter, but still had the headphones. I remember one stage, one lad turned around and was like, "Are we on the right course?" And I'm like, "We're the only ones running right now. Of course, we're in the right place." But because he had the headphones on, he was just so switched off to what was going on. Like, and then he kind of just thought, you could see him zone back in and go, "Oh, did I make a wrong turn? Am I the right way?" And it just, whereas when you have those headphones, you're more alert, you're more in tune with your body. Like, okay, fueling station coming up. Luke is like, even grabbing the water, and you hear other people coming before or behind you. If you have headphones on, you're not as switched on there, or different kind of traffic or whatever could be happening in the race or event. Like, especially Cork, when with the heat and all the rest, and just seeing different things around you and stuff. You don't have that awareness. I know sometimes you need the music to block that out in a training session to help get through that pain barrier. But a race is completely different. You need to be switched on, especially for longer races. That I think headphones are not a good. I don't recommend headphones to anyone, and that's coming from someone that always trains in headphones, always trains the big tin cans that you probably see on Instagram on most of my selfies and stuff that I do after runs. But a race is different.
Although, in a counter argument, had I headphones in, I could have ignored your one for that water and sipped straight around.
That's what it is.
Listen, 30 quid to enter, a great medal.
Yes, okay. You're happy with the medal?
A great t-shirt, a Lucozade, a water, and a cookie for 30 quid, and an organised event in Phoenix Park. Like, where would you get it? It's absolutely brilliant. And for anyone who is thinking next year, I probably want to get involved, or I want to, because I know a lot of people came to watch it today and even said, you know what, I might give this a go. Like, a half marathon is an achievable goal. It is, it's the first step, and definitely, like, value for money, absolutely brilliant.
Class. No, delighted for you. That's it then. It's pretty much straight on through to the full one now for people, and best luck to them. They got 5 weeks, I think 5 weeks, 36 days from the race. So it's 5 weeks now from there. I know it's not slightly what you're training for right now, but do you have any advice to anyone that did the race today, leaning towards 5 weeks, towards those that are doing Dublin Marathon, particularly those that might be doing the first Dublin Marathon, to base anything off, stay off? Would you still agree with double the time plus 15 as something to aim for? that we've talked about before? Would you think there's time to build for another 2-3 weeks towards to get the longer miles in and then taper from there? How would you approach it now if this was after today and you've got 5 weeks towards the main one? How would you approach it?
So there's going to be two types of athletes who are listening to this question. One who haven't really been consistent and have showed up today just to see how are they fixed, and they'll probably get a fright. But there is still 5 weeks. A lot can happen in 5 weeks. A lot of consistency, just working at it. So for those who got a bit of a fright and think they can't do it, stick to your plan, stick to your training. One element I would get them to add into their training is running on tired legs. I would go do an interval session in the morning, and then that evening go out for an hour and a half of applaud. Get that feeling of, oh my God, my legs are heavy and I'm still just plodding along. And because that's what's the feeling you're going to remember through 30K, through a marathon. Because if you're under pressure, you will be under pressure at 30K. You will. But you'll have felt it before. You'll have that little bit about you because you've trained like that. I'd probably consider training up until the week of, and then start to taper a little bit. If you've left your training kind of fall off, I'd use these 4 weeks and then alter your last week, because you haven't got the consistency to taper. And that would be one person. Don't throw in the towel now. Use it as motivation. Get consistent. You will see a huge improvement in just 4 weeks. So we all laugh at how I did a marathon in 4 weeks last year, and is testament. Now it's stupid, but these people who showed up today have done a little bit more than that, and with a little bit more consistency and that little bit of motivation. Now I would stick at that for the next few weeks. Then there's the other one who have ran really, really well today. They're going to go, I didn't really hit the wall, but I know it could be there. So for them, training is going well. You should be looking at your 30K. This is where you're going to lick the wall. You should be licking and drooling on it by the time you get there.
Jesus.
This is where you find out. So this was a great race for you to give you confidence. And when you go do your long run next week or the week after, it's usually 3 to 4 weeks out. You want to go, and if you want to keep that pace you did your marathon, get to that 30K. If you're brave enough, get to 32K. If you're brave enough, 34K. I wouldn't really go over that. It's not much benefit. And then see how you felt at that point. Now you have your plan. Now you have your pace. Now you know what's happening. And like anything, stick to your plan through the first 25, 26 kilometers. Make sure you're fueling good and early. So for those who are feeling good, what's going to catch you out on the day is fuel. You need to make sure you're getting your food in good and early. From the first 5K, water stop, take and use those milestones, 5, 10, 15, 20. Gel, jelly, water, water. Whatever it is that's working for you as part of your training, you need to start using those milestones. Because what will happen is you'll get your cramp at 35K and it'll turn your 5-minute pace into a 6:30 and blow up your PB. If your training has been consistent, you've done a good half, you're going to get to, as I said, headbutt the wall in the next 2 or 3 weeks. You need to make sure you're fueling early. The quicker you get the food in early, it's going to be in your system for the next, it'll take place in the next half hour. So you have to be thinking a half hour ahead. You don't want to get to 30K hungry or out of salt or out of water. And that's when the cramping and stuff's going to start happening. So to give yourself the best chance, you really need to practice your nutrition and see what your pace is like for that 30K. Don't be afraid to slow down up hills. Pick it up on the flats. It is okay to see your pace drop by 10 seconds and then on the next one, pick it up, because there's ups and downs, especially in the Phoenix Park. If you're coming down the hill at a 450 and your pace is a 510, enjoy the 450. Lean your head forward, let your body fall down the hill and get all of that free speed, because when you come through Chapel Lizard, slow it down by the 20 seconds you just earned. It's all about the averages over a long period of time. And that's what I would be practicing if I was on a good outcome from today and feeling positive. The biggest thing that's going to let you down is lack of practice with your food and understanding what's going to happen in your body through that 30, 32, 33K. That's when a marathon starts. That's when there's not even an angel on your shoulder. There's two devils on your shoulder, and that's it for the last 10K. And that's where you need to be a little bit aggressive with yourself. I find with people, and that's why, look, caffeine can have the effect of giving you the trots. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I keep a caffeine gel for that last 10K because for me, mentally sharpens me because I don't drink tea or coffee. When I take caffeine, I am awake. I am awake. When you're tired and groggy and you're just churning it out, it's a lot easier to go, oh, I'll just slow down. Whereas if you're awake, you can be more aggressive. You're like, so that's where I would use caffeine because the toilet's only going to be 8K away. You know, worst case scenario, it's only going to be 5K. Whenever you're feeling it, just give yourself that mental kick. And that will give you that little bit of aggression to be like, come on, we're awake, we're still in it. The heart rate can be allowed to rise up at that point. You can allow the heart rate to rise up for the last 10K even. It depends on how well your training is going because you're in a race. At the end of the day, you're in a race. If you're not crossing that line with the 170 heart rate at the end, you haven't done your best. But you want to manage it until that last segment. And that's where if you can get to that 30K well managed, you're now in a 10K race for your PB. And that's the way I would consider it if you've had a good day today. So 2 options. 1, if you're scared, stick at it, maybe change a few, run on tired legs. And if you've had a good day, you need to start dialing down what's going to get you to PB. And that is everything. It's the holistic approach to the marathon. It's the fuel, the breakfast, the race belt, how it's set up. What happens if I lose a gel? What's on the course? What's at mile X, Y, and Z? Am I going to take the Lucozade? Am I going to take the water? I took a salt tab after 7 kilometers in the last marathon. I was pissing blood at 12 kilometers because
Jesus,
I took on. Sorry. I'll stop talking in case you want to edit it out.
No, I didn't mean like that. No, sorry.
Well, anyway.
I just meant in terms of Jesus, Eric.
All right. Anyway, running is disgusting. In case anyone didn't read it,
we're leaving all that in. I'm not adding any of that. That's all staying in.
It's my birthday, but I got that majorly wrong, and I had to.
Yeah.
I knew what was going wrong with my body, and I was like, "Jesus, get some water in." So I just drank water as much as I could. I took 2 bottles at the next station, and I got it in. I had a sloshy tummy, but that pain and all that left me, and I ended up having a great race because I had so much salt in my body. It was fantastic. But
you were buzzing at the end of that, and you shouldn't have been. You really shouldn't have been.
I shouldn't have been. So, but I had come through that at 8 kilometers. I was like, oh, this is great now. I feel fantastic. I thought my race was done early. So it is important to practice them things. I just knew I cramped through 30K, so I needed salt to get it on early. I got it all wrong, and I didn't practice it beforehand. It was a 4-week training. It was all stupid. But these are things that people need to be trying. You've got 4 weeks. Make sure it works out. Make sure you have good gels, and some people like eating Mars bars. I find it really hard to breathe when I eat something like that. So, yeah, gels for me are fantastic. Try get some of the better quality ones. I know we use the Decathlon. I still do it because, I don't know, I have a stomach of steel or something. It doesn't really matter what goes in. But solid food doesn't work with me. So gels are great for me. But I've bought more expensive gels recently, and I just find they're just so much more satisfying. They're less syrupy, and there's just something out there. But I would get a practice run or 2 in using 1 or 2. If they're expensive, don't go overboard. You're not going to be running that far.
That's when you use your 30 plus K run to try those out. Your 2.5 hour stoppages. It's like that's when you try out those things, and even have 2 or 3 different types with you, and just which one's agreeing me as I'm taking this, because there's gonna be long enough gaps and that consistency. And like you said, anything that's therapy, I struggle to have at all. Or during, and even some of those gels, not the gels, the jellies. They're hard. You're trying to bite a jelly while you're on a run. It doesn't sound like difficult at all, but when you're in that situation, it is.
And look, while you're chomping and chomping and chomping and trying to breathe, your heart rate's going up by a couple of beats per
Yeah.
minute. So, it's just find what's working for you. And that would be my best advice again coming into this phase now. It's not too late,
No.
and equally, if you're doing well, it's not too late to perfect it. It's not too late to perfect the plan, because what will make such a difference is I'm going up Castle Knock. I know there's water around the corner. Oh, here's
And
the water. Brilliant. I'm feeling good. Heart rate's here. 5K, 10K, top of the Castle Knock. What am I having? Oh, jelly. These jellies are gorgeous. Nom, nom, nom. Now I'm running downhill. I'm at a 4:30. I'm leaning forward. I'm after making up 2 minutes. Now I have that for the hill on the other side. So you can already see how a plan is formed. And it's like that's how you get through this. That is how you get through the day, mentally prepare for it. And then when you start meeting all of these milestones, whether you're in a bad place now or a good place, you still need all these milestones. And then you're home and hosing on the beer with us. Like, it's
100%.
very, very simple. Now, mine is not going to be that simple because it's a week after an Ironman. So if anyone has any advice on how to do that, I am all ears.
It's mad, and I know it's nowhere near an Ironman. I'm not trying to relate to the same thing, but just this across with the tapering. The week before I did the Galway marathon, I did an 80K, and I could barely use my legs after it. And I did nothing for a week, and I was getting to the starting line of Galway, going, I don't know if I'm finishing this one today. I felt like crapping all day before, and all of a sudden I ran out and did a PB, and it got me thinking. Then I was like, how like when you look at a training plan for a marathon, it's 20 weeks. It never ever goes to plan. Always stuff gets away. It's up downs, and then it gets to the point where you might need those. Like, unless you've had a perfect training plan for 17 weeks, and you've got the last 3 weeks to go, and everything's gone smoothly. It's like maybe taper for an entire 3 weeks if you're an athlete stage. But for most of us, Joe Soaps, I don't think we get to the stage where everything goes smoothly for those 17, 18 weeks. You can kind of push a little bit further. And at the same time, you got to trust the process, trust your training. And it depends on each individual person where they're at and how long they recover. Like, for example, some people, I remember my first time I did a half marathon, the Dublin one back in 2018. I remember going back up Stony Bar and struggling to walk going up because the legs were that stiff and sore after the 21K. And that's where I was at the time. Now, I obviously did the marathon a couple of weeks later, but for some people might need a little bit longer rest. But sometimes you're like, you know what, the legs aren't, so I can push that a little bit further. And the toughest thing is, to your point, is getting to the starting line. Like, I put up a post this week where it's like only 60% of people got to the starting line last year for the Dublin Marathon. So out of 25,000, only a little shy of 15,000 made the starting line, yet only like 390 didn't finish. That doesn't mean the other 14,800 or 13,600, sorry, had a perfect race or anything like that. They obviously had ups and downs, stuff like that. And we saw a lot of people that definitely did not have a perfect race, especially on those 2-3 kilometers towards the finish. But less than 2% that made it the starting line. Sorry, less than 2% made the starting line, didn't finish the whole thing. 98% that got to that starting line in Dublin finished.
Yeah.
That's a huge. I know the completing a marathon is a huge thing, but that's some statistic that 98% finish, and it's up like so. If you had a bad day today or the half marathon, like you said, there is still time. There's a lot of time to get it right. To believe in yourself, and okay, maybe that time you had of that PB might be a little bit too far of a reach. But hey, it's still a phenomenal day out. Maybe it's just a case just completing it now, and that's certainly where I'm at. It's just completing the race, go out and enjoy it because it is a hell of an event.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing everyone needs to remember. Like, I always say when everyone's like, what time are you hoping for? Make that decision the week of.
Yeah.
Wait till you're through your 30K and then go, do you know what? I can give that a good stab. I could hold that for another 10K and see how I'm fixed. And it's the only way you'll know. It is truly the only way you'll know. So today, I had no idea. I genuinely had no idea how I do, because all of my runs have been at a 5:50, 6 minutes, 6:10. I've been running really slow, and I've started to change that over the last few weeks.
Hmm.
With a hell of a lot more intervals and speed work, and I'm starting to run faster, and I just feel better.
Good.
So for me today, it was like, what time are you hoping to run it in? And default 2 hours. That's all I said. I was like, 2 hours. I've done a marathon in 4. I'll do this in 2. I won't be any over 2. That's what I kind of said to myself. I didn't anticipate it'd be 1:53, but I had that in the tank, and I used the tank. Will I be doing the Ironman pace at that? Absolutely not. Will I be doing Dublin at that? Remains to be questioned, because I still have 5 weeks. So it's interesting, but even still, on the day of Dublin Marathon, I'm going to be one of the 98% who gets that crap medal and goes to the pub.
I suppose one last question on that, because today obviously it wasn't a race for you, what you're building towards. But if you saw your Strava, you gradually build up your heart rate. Like I know last year doing the marathon, mine was at 90% plus for the entire thing, and I was hoping and puffing, nearly died of death at the very end. But you gradually did it. Will you go off heart rate then? For I know it's like the question down the line. Like, is this the race now? This heart rate, was that just today because of the training session after trying to keep it down after doing the 1 hour 15 earlier on the bike?
Yeah, no, for me, it was all about heart rate. So for the first couple of K, it was in the 140s. And I was like, okay, knock 5 seconds off there, Eric. And then I went into the 150s. And then I came through 10K. I was like, right, let's take it into the 160s. With 10K to go, into the 160s. And as I came through 10 mile, I was like, right, 5K, we're gonna up it every K from here. And I think I ended up on a 4:55. Yeah, okay. The last 400 meters is
The
always a
sprint finish.
4:30 or some
Yeah.
crap like that. But it's just because everyone else started running fast. I was like, I'm not gonna get beaten by you. But for me, that was the plan, because, and as I was saying to people, just take your time for the first 6K, feel it out, see how your body's doing, see how the heart rate's doing, then just knock 10 seconds off. And you can take similar approaches for the marathon. Like if your heart rate's sitting in the 130s, like you're going too slow. So you can up that into the 140s, into the 150s even. And then as you get through half, see into the 150s, 30K, 160s. By the time you're hitting that 35K mark, if you're doing it for a PV and you're getting to that stage of, I'm now starting to redline. The red line means 90 minutes remaining. Right. And that's what we've always said. The anaerobic zone, 90 minutes, all your sugars, all going to be burnt. So if you've been fueling, taking on board the bare minimums, your salts, your waters, your whole shebang, you've got 90 minutes. And it's not going to take you 90 minutes to cover the 5 to 8K. So accept a difficult ending and you'll come across the line with a PV. And that's if you've gone with the heart rate method. But to answer your question then, in the Ironman, 100%. I'm going to get off that bike. I'm going to survive the first 6 kilometers.
Right.
And just get moving. Get the body moving. If I'm in the 160s at a 6-minute pace, I am staying at a 6-minute pace. And what the intention is probably walk through all of the aid stations. So the aid stations are every 3 to 4 miles, so about 5 to 6K. So every 5-6K, I'm going to eat everything like it's a buffet on the table, and I'm just going to walk 500 meters, take on a board, and then get the mental power to go, right, 4.5K to go, and then run to the next one. And that's essentially my plan. And that walk has the plan of bringing that heart rate down, so I can just build it back up over the next 3-4K. By the time it starts to get into near the higher zones, I'm walking again. I'm giving myself, now they're 5K intervals for 4.5 hours or whatever it's going to be. But it's still my strategy. It's still what I'm going to do. And then if I come to the last 10K and I'm feeling good, that's when it's like, right, race is on. Let's see if I need to crawl across the line, but until then, for me, it's all about getting to the finish line.
Unreal. Just to wrap up this episode of the podcast, someone's listening in. They're like, maybe next year I might do the Dublin Half Marathon. 1, would you recommend it? And 2, any advice for them?
I usually I've changed my opinion because
Okay.
a lot of my long runs were done in the Phoenix Park in previous years, and I would run 25k for free. But the experience of being with a crowd, getting some of your family out, it's another opportunity for people to come support you. The price was phenomenally reasonable for a medal and a t-shirt. It's another tick in your progress. And if I was aiming to do a half marathon as my goal for next year, you've all summer to train for it. 12 weeks and off you go. You can do your half marathon end of September, mid September, and you're set up then. It's 100% a great setup for what it is, for what it was worth, value for money, the location, the hills, and then mentally, like you're gonna cover probably 8 to 9, actually probably about 11 kilometers of that again when you do the real thing. So mentally, the familiarity of being in the Phoenix Park, running up these roads, it's like, oh yeah, I've been on this hill before. It is worth its weight in gold. So 100%, if people are looking to do that, absolutely, I would. I'd take on the Dublin Half, and it'd be fantastic achievement for a lot of people for to move on from the women's mini marathon or their first 10k. It's definitely a good goal. No one has to run a marathon in a year. It's definitely people who are getting the couch 5Ks early on in January. Set your target on the Dublin Half Marathon and be consistent through the summer, and you'll get there.
Unreal, unreal. I see you got the Ireland jersey on you. It's your big birthday day, so go off, enjoy the rest of the birthday celebrations, and enjoy the match later on. Although everyone listening knows what happens at anyway, whether you're going to enjoy it or not. So, yeah, take care.
Gonna feel like an athlete and get a Chinese and eat cake.
Ah, for the love
Yeah.
of on that bombshell, which is not a bombshell. We all knew you were going to do it. Eating microcalories. That's it for myself and Eric. Thank you for so much listening to this episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. Take care.
Bye.